Welcome to the Hot Spotting Real Estate Podcast. This is a bi-weekly podcast that talks about all things real estate with a splash of real-life topics. So tune in and let's keep it real. Hello, and welcome to the Hot Spotting Real Estate Podcast. And I have an amazing guest today.
Hello.
Miss Kristin McCann. How are you?
Good. It's nice to see you not at ICSC.
Yes, it's nice to see you not at ICSC.
I feel like every time we see each other, we're rushing through the conference.
It's always rushing. And we're
with
both
no voice.
I know. Or hungover. I mean, that happens often at ICSC.
If you're not, then.
Yeah, that's good. How was your show, by the way? Let me ask you that.
It was really interesting this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of focused on a different level of meetings and really wanted to just be specific and not just stack them all up.
Yeah.
So it was good. I didn't think it was as busy, but I thought the meetings were quality.
Yeah. And
what about you?
We could touch base more on that, but my show was cool too. I did end up stacking too many meetings.
Oh.
You always try not to,
No.
but then it's like, could we meet? And then you're like,
Did you have to go from south to central?
Twice.
Oh.
Yeah, it wasn't fun.
I have shorter legs, so that's not a good thing for me.
I did use the golf cart, but
you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I just recorded an episode before this about the ICSC kind of feedback. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting, but we could talk more about it.
Okay.
Let me give them a little bit of insight on you. So born and raised in NYC.
Yes.
Raised in LA. BA in art history from UCLA.
Yes.
It's very useful in our industry. Vice president at Elevate Retail, and a very cool person to know in the industry if you don't know her.
Thank you.
That's my addition to your little
Oh, I appreciate
intro.
that. Comma.
Yeah. But let's circle back to the NYC situation. Mm-hmm. When did you get out here?
The first time I was in middle school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was here from middle school until the end of college, and then after college I went back to New York.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so that's where I started my career using my art history degree. I went to work for about 5 years at Sotheby's Auction House.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Got to see art. And
my sister was an art history major.
I did not know this.
At UCI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
She now is working at a restaurant distributor.
Oh,
yeah.
So she and I
food is an art, okay?
Right, but food is definitely
yeah. But she really
aesthetically pleasing. You have to look at it and see the masterpiece.
Yeah, and she was she's still really into art, and I'm sure you are too. But it's interesting. I wish a lot of those you art majors were able to like stay in that genre that you fell in love with.
It was a really interesting way to get through college mm-hmm. and enjoy my classes while also doing it quickly. But I wasn't necessarily convinced that I was meant to be an art dealer or work in a museum. So working in the auction house the way the industry looks at it was like a happy medium. Uh-huh. But it was... Quickly, when I joined, I was on the business side. I was never on the specialist side doing research and, that sort of higher education.
Right.
I really enjoyed, strategy, working on, how do we, build this sale? How do we get these clients to this sale? So that was about five years of that.
Nice.
And I realized, I wasn't interested in the product anymore because I didn't like looking at art as a commodity like that or furniture.
Yeah.
It was even hard for me to go to a gallery at that point because you always had to figure out what's the value. It's like, I just want to look at it for the love of it.
Just to look at it.
Right. So it definitely gave me a lot of the skills that we need in real estate.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, yeah.
And speaking of which, how did you transition from that to real estate? Was it still in New York or was it?
It was. Oh, okay. It was actually after 9/11. I moved from the Upper East Side to downtown. I hadn't really fallen in love with New York at that point.
Right.
But when I moved downtown, it all made sense. It just, the people, the food, even the clothes were different. The architecture was different.
Right.
The vibe, everything was completely, it was a different world. I mean, anybody that, knows me, knew that I barely went downtown when I was uptown. But the minute I went downtown, I barely went above 23rd.
Wow.
I fell in love. And it was after 9/11, so you got to see, the rebirth of the city and how, everybody was coming together to really sort of come up with new concepts and redevelop an area. And it was about 2004 where I finally made the change because I was looking around and I wanted to be a part of that.
Did you immediately dive in to a specific genre of real estate there? It was
a company that focused on downtown retail.
Mm-hmm. Did you decide that on your own that you wanted to go into retail, or is that something that just came across your life?
It was definitely commercial that I wanted to do.
You knew you weren't going to be doing like the apartment condo situation.
No, because I saw the personalities when I was in the auction world.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
So that wasn't going to be me.
Yeah.
But what I really loved was being able to make a difference on your landscape, in your community. When the bodegas were closed and, somebody would come in and reopen and the neighborhood finally had, goods and stuff. That to me was inspiring.
Yeah.
These, chefs that would come in, even though it was a rebirth of a downtown and, they were doing new concepts. I loved that. So I wanted to be a part of that. I was hoping that maybe I could, maybe buy and sell, one of the buildings.
Yeah.
But, we had a little bit of competition in that one.
Just a little bit. How long did you do that in New York?
I was at Sinvin Real Estate almost 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were focusing on Soho, Tribeca, West Village, Meatpacking, Chelsea.
And when did you get out here again?
I moved out April 2013.
Wow.
Yeah, my New York experience was kind of bookended by 9/11 and Hurricane Sandy.
And you're like, I'm out.
Yeah, Hurricane Sandy did it for me.
I'm done.
I was like, I can deal with, a lot, but water too, it was too much.
Wow. When you were there and doing the retail stuff, how long did it take you to like get really into it? Like, was it the first year or a couple of years? Because New York's pretty cutthroat.
Oh, I loved it from the beginning. I think my first deal, in 2004 or 5, it was pretty fun. I didn't know anything, but it was really fun. But I was able to, do my first deal within 3 months, and you get the taste.
Yeah, and you're like, oh,
this is fun. This. The speed in which deals were going was very much my vibe. You could show a space, you get an offer that day, you start negotiating.
Yeah.
And a lot of these landlords in New York, they don't like that BS. They don't like sit on it and meditate.
Man, I love New York.
Oh, it was great. It was great.
I love you guys. You still act like a New Yorker at heart. But whenever I'm dealing with New Yorkers, their speed is my speed.
I love it. They speak the pace.
Yes.
I speak quickly, so sometimes I have to remember not everybody can hear me as quickly as I speak.
Yeah.
But I do love being in LA, the weather, driving in my car.
What are you talking about?
Well, not weather? This year. Generally speaking, according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, according to the Farmer's Almanac.
Exactly. But, the elements in New York, I would show up to showings and my pants would have, having had mud or rain on it. You just can't get out of the elements. So that I do love about that here.
Yeah.
Having my own little nucleus.
I've never been to New York, by the way.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Well, obviously, we're going to be going to December ICSC this year then.
Is that where it is?
There's the...
there's the New York one. Do you go to that?
I have.
Yeah.
Regularly. I stopped right before COVID.
Where do they have it? Back where do they have it there?
It's at Javits.
Where's that? Is that like a big convention center?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know anything about New York. But I need to
Are you serious right now?
I have to get out there.
You're going to find your people everywhere. They're going to talk just like you.
That's awesome. I would love that. So you got back here, LA, and who did you land with here?
I was working with RKF.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I worked with RKF even during the buyout where Newmark bought them.
Right.
And then in the middle of COVID, made the change.
Yeah.
But at RKF,
that's where I met you when you were at RKF.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was representing a couple of buildings that you had some tenants that was really trying to get you to consider.
Yeah. We didn't do a deal.
We didn't.
No, but we're still cool.
Exactly. It's okay. I'll forgive you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So RKF, and then that went to Newmark, and then now you're at
Elevate Retail Group.
Elevate Retail Group. Tell us a little bit about Elevate Retail Group.
It's a really wonderful experience to work with friends and people you respect. Melanie Lee Goldman started it right before COVID, and then COVID hit. But during COVID, nobody was really working in offices or working together.
Right.
And, she was kind of, in her own pod because she had a newborn, and, I just had my dog. So, she and I were safe to see each other.
Yeah.
And so, once or twice a week, we'd work together just organically because I needed to have somebody else in real estate that could, sort of give me some motivation to come up with some new ideas. Because, think about it, February, March 2021.
I know.
It was going on and on and on, and having still, I had a bit of inventory that I was working on, and I wanted to make an effort, didn't want to just, sit and wait for the world to change. Right. So it was just really kind of inspiring to sit with somebody just in the middle of COVID and start working, and we were brainstorming, and it just grew organically from there.
Yeah.
And she comes from, a REIT background and a broker background. So, there's a lot of,
that's cool.
Differences there, and her husband's a developer. So, it's a really interesting group. And we've brought in Hattie, who, comes from the REIT world also, right. Vornado, Westfield. So, there's a lot of that mall element that I don't bring to the table, because I really am strictly street.
Yeah. I like that description.
I don't want to say high street. Not all of them are high.
Yeah.
But I am a street retail person. That is sort of, my nature from New York. And it's my blood. It's like what I really, vibe on. And then we just brought Jamie Trang on, who is, a tenant rep, does a lot of restaurants, was, former partner at Main and Main. So, we have all these different.
Who else is on the team?
There's 4 of us
just
right
4
now.
Of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah.
And primarily what, landlord side, or now you're getting into the tenant rep side, or what do you primarily focus on?
I'm 60-40.
60-40.
Heavier landlord. After the Great Recession, when I was holding 90% of my inventory with, with no tenants, I quickly realized that, you have to diversify in your career, and you can't really just do one or the other.
Right.
As a broker, personally.
100%.
That's just, especially when, you have to, what's the saying? Eat what you kill.
That's right.
Yes. So as the market changes, trying to maintain that balance.
Yeah.
For me is always like a constant kind of process. But I do love landlord work.
Yeah.
I do. I love having a project that I believe in and reaching out to tenants that I think will make a good match. Mm-hmm. It's something that made sense from the beginning in New York.
Yeah, that part of what we do is a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Creating a landscape of retail.
Exactly.
And I used to look at it as like puzzle pieces of like, okay, what's going to work here? No, maybe, yes.
Right.
So it's really cool to kind of see that. I mean, you from New York, how many pieces of that puzzle are there? It's like all street. It's amazing.
It's all street, right? Exactly.
Yeah,
it's all
so
street.
It's like so cool to bring that here. You're probably like, this is a little easy for me on the street. But actually...
it's not, because you have different landlords.
Well, not only
they don't make it easy.
You're right. But then there's also the foot traffic situation.
Oh,
right?
My gosh.
Night and day, huh?
Well, that's actually something that's really interesting, right? I like to work with, first to market brands, sometimes new concepts, sometimes new to LA.
Right.
But there's a lot of translating the landscape for people, depending on where they're from. Especially, New York. I used to work with a lot of, New York brands. And they're, like, where's the foot traffic? In the cars.
Yes.
It's in the
cars. They're driving to your store right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so different.
It really is. It really is.
So different. I mean, I haven't been to New York, so I can't really feel what it's like, but just by looking at it, right? It's just such a vast area here. I mean, has it gone better? Maybe in some neighborhoods where the density's gone up, but
in LA?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a lot different, but I mean, when you first started, it was probably like a lot different than New York.
It was, but to me, I grew up here, so driving wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
You know, I liked to go to, you know, Melrose, or at the time, Robertson was very popular. Mm-hmm. Not to date myself, but West Side Pavilion was extremely popular when I was going to school, and you drove there too, you know? So there wasn't, for me, coming from New York to LA, a concern necessarily of understanding. It was trying to use the right words to get tenants to understand that aren't from here.
Right.
You know, so it's been different, but it's been fun to sort of navigate through, you know, the personalities in LA and trying to get New Yorkers or, you know, brands that are new and up and coming to, you know, understand, you know, the differences in neighborhoods and what they're going to expect.
I have an interesting question. Have you seen more New York brands come here or vice versa, LA brands to New York?
When I first came to Los Angeles, it was New York to LA. But we're actually seeing
the reverse?
Yeah, the reverse a little bit more now. I think, you know, the cost of everything in LA, you know, is kind of making more sense for a lot of brands to be able to explore outside. Because 10 years ago, you know, a lot of these up and coming brands in Los Angeles, you know, they wanted to do it, but it was twice as expensive.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily that case anymore.
Yeah.
I do know a lot of New York brands, when they come here, they think New York is so hard, it can't be worse anywhere else. And then they realize permitting, construction probably takes twice as long.
Here. Yeah.
And that it really,
it's not fun.
It's not fun. It's not fun. Even if you're from here, it's not fun.
It's not fun.
You know, but it's definitely eye-opening for a lot of brands.
So New York is better at that process?
Yes.
Wow. I would think they'd be just like us, but I guess it's not. Yeah, it is tough
I
here.
will say the one part of New York that's interesting is, you know, when you have the community board meetings, you know, and you want
the building?
Those are fun, you know, and when you have a tenant who's trying to get a liquor license, you know, you have to go in front of the community board, and you have somebody who's like, the street was so crowded, I had to walk in the middle. It's like, what does that to do with the restaurant? It's like, that's New York. Welcome to the city, you know?
I had to bump elbows with somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. It's like, we don't need a restaurant. It's already crowded.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, those are fun. But I would say, yeah, New York is much quicker.
So are the majority of street retail you're working on mixed use stuff?
For landlords, yes.
For the landlord side?
The majority of things that I'm working on currently.
Yeah.
In my 10 years in LA, I've done, you know, all kinds of, you know, properties. But right now, mixed use is it's up there. No
one's developing street retail without a apartment on top. It's just not feasible anymore, right? I don't see it happening
No,
anymore.
I mean, you could do office, or you could, it's just not.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about it the other day, like, you know, there was a point in time in LA where people were just building street retail.
Well, I'm like
but that
West
day
Melrose.
Yeah, but now it's unless you're going vertical, you can't even do it anymore.
No.
It just doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, they're even trying to do that on the promenade, right? Trying to get all that above to be apartments. They're trying to,
I think it needs it there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think the more bodies live there, the better it is for that area.
Right.
And
I mean, our office used to be there. And when our office was there, it was pretty busy. But I go back now, and the market has really shifted.
Yeah.
I mean, it does get a nice evening and weekend crowd, but it's not that same 7-day a week, 24-hour, not 24-hour, but I wasn't there 24 hours. I felt some days that I was at my desk 24 hours, but no, I wasn't there that long.
Do you get involved early on with some of these developers who are doing the mixed use projects with the ground floor retail, with either pre-leasing or giving your ideas on what not to do with the ground floor?
It depends on the developer, but unfortunately, the phase that I'm in right now, you get the listings once, they've already started construction or they've already started their plans. It's not when they're in the, I haven't really worked with too many landlords that are in the entitlement phase.
Yeah.
I do have a couple, but they're on hold because the entitlements are taking so long. So, they're not even ready to start with the architectural plans. But honestly, it's so important for developers to get a retail broker involved when before they've had
conceptual.
Yes, because half of these buildings, when you hit the top and you look at the retail, it's like we have grade changes.
Right.
You don't have shafts for kitchens.
We forgot the venting.
There's no parking.
The parking. I don't think the parking's ever going to be resolved because the city wants to eliminate and get everybody on people mover or tram or metro, whatever you want to call it, it's just not conducive to the crowd here right now. Maybe the younger generations might adapt to that, which I've been hearing, like a lot of kids don't want to get their driver's licenses, but that could change.
It could change. Things evolve.
But still, everything is not close enough for you to be able to get there in a decent amount of time with public transportation.
Imagine today when I went.
Oh my God, yeah. So like you're from the west side and I'm in Calabasas.
It would have taken me a day.
Yeah, you would have left yesterday.
Exactly.
We've been waiting for you.
Exactly. Still waiting.
But I think the point you're making with the developer involvement, and I've said it before to a couple other guests, I think, and it just does not change. For some reason, developers leave out talking to their leasing brokers on what to do with the ground floor and how to structure it or how to build it, And
patio space.
Right.
They build it to the full lot.
Right, because they're trying to maximize everything.
And then they leave it in a concrete shell with no utilities.
Yeah,
and then it makes it a year for anybody to get open. Not even mentioning how long it's going to take to hit the market and lease and all that. So, there's a lot of elements that we could sort of, get in front of the earlier that we're involved in, these discussions.
Do you think it's because it's such a small percentage of the overall project that they really don't give it a lot of weight?
Yes.
But then they regret doing that because they sit with a vacant spot, which ends up looking horrible for the building.
And then it affects the conversations with the renters. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think that New York doesn't have the same problem with mixed use, right? Because there's just bodies. Yeah. Chase Bank is like, I'll take that corner. And then you have, a sandwich shop or a coffee shop. They always want to go. But, convincing people in Los Angeles that mixed use makes sense for them.
Right.
There's a lot of brands that are like, our brand only does, single tenant entity concepts, right?
Yeah.
Like we want our own single building and that's it. That's how we identify.
Right.
But, the changing landscape is it's gonna be hard to find that going forward, I
feel like the mixed use world is more of the independent brand, and the unique brands are the ones that are adapting to that. Mixed use property more than the national. The nationals, they have to hit certain sales and they need the numbers. We get it. Some of them have to adapt and go into these areas. I'm trying to do. We've been trying to look for a Denny's in like the Miracle Mile area for a while. It's tough.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times the issue is the parking or the venting.
Absolutely.
Those are the top two issues that I run into.
I have a space that would be a miracle for you a mile from there.
Miracle Mile or a mile from Miracle Mile?
Yeah, a mile from Miracle Mile.
That's that area? What area is this? It's the mile from Miracle Mile. I like that area.
It's Chinatown.
Yeah.
It's the fastest growing millennial population in LA.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right now we're over 40% millennial.
Wow. Yeah, see, you're in those dense LA areas, those dense pockets, which, I think once the numbers get out to a lot of the national brands, they're going to be like, how many people are here now?
Right.
Yeah. So That's interesting. What are some of the brands that you're working with right now that are interesting to you, or what genre of brand are you seeing out there that's unique to you and kind of, pulling you in, you're interested in?
I'm inspired by, up and coming chefs, concepts that are, driven by, their culture or their experience. A couple years ago, I was working with a woman from Italy, and she really embodied, her culture with her food. Mm-hmm. Recently, we did a deal with Bridgetown Roti, and Rashida Holmes is a chef. She was a James Beard finalist this year.
Wow.
Very exciting. I had been watching, what they were doing during COVID, and I was really inspired in how, they really came up with a way to deliver quality food during a time when you couldn't interact with your customers. And, my East Coast brain had been looking at their menu, and they have oxtail patties. And in New York, the Jamaican truck that was outside of one of my offices had the best oxtail. Wow. So, I was looking at their menu, and I just had to reach out, and we ended up, being able to meet and getting to know each other. And, I was able to, help them, look for a space, and we did execute on something.
Oh, cool.
So hopefully they'll be opening at the end of this year. But, I really am inspired by food.
Right.
In college, I went to cooking school, and I thought maybe I was going to do something, but, going to the kitchen at 7 a.m. was not for me.
Yeah.
7 p.m. to like 7 a.m. maybe, but the opposite, I'm just not a morning person.
Yeah.
So I decided just to go and finish, my bachelor's degree, but I love food. I love cooking. It's really, what kind of drives my real estate. I've always done dry use from the minute I started.
Okay.
That was kind of because a lot of the projects in Soho you couldn't vent.
Right.
You just couldn't. So that's just naturally where my dry use, background came from.
Right.
But, in Los Angeles, there's a lot of ways to slice things because you don't have a, 25-story building above or, it's not a landmark, loft or something. So it's kind of interesting. And now that I'm at Elevate, being able to sort of use my team, we come together and we really kind of come up with, what would be a really good, sort of strategy for this tenant. And, we'll talk about, areas and working together on like, if Hattie knows,
oh, that's cool.
This landlord at this mall, and I'll be like, this broker has this street retail, we'll talk about how we can, help each other, because we come from different parts.
Yeah,
to
but
really
it's
help
different
a tenant.
parts that kind of fit together.
Exactly.
So that collaborative office atmosphere is always awesome.
It is, yeah. So Hattie and I were working together on Bridgetown Roti. It just made a lot of sense. Like if they wanted to do something, with a Mace Rich or, Hattie was going to be, sort of at the forefront of that conversation.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's good teamwork.
Yeah, that is good teamwork. Yeah. What about on the landlord side? Is there anything cool that you want to, talk about that's like stands out right now, a new project or anything like that that's very interesting to you?
So before COVID, I was working on a project in Hollywood, pre-leasing a project that hadn't had its TCO. And that was extremely difficult, to tour people through construction.
Right. Hard hats and everything.
Oh, yes. I look good in a hard hat.
I mean, I need a hard hat. I don't have hair, so.
It calms my hair. That's why I like it. Go through those construction. Yeah, it's a look. But the building opened in the middle of COVID, and that was that was really stressful. You know, having literally the middle of COVID be your opening
in Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it took a little while to get some momentum, but we got a couple deals done, and now we have another couple deals with some tenants that I'm really proud of. You know, it's been a project that's a labor of love.
Where is it?
It's on the corner of Selma and Highland. It's across from Hollywood High.
Is that where there used to be like a sign shop?
Across the street.
Across the street.
Which is still an entitlement. That one.
So this project is on the corner there.
Yeah, on one corner on the other side of the building, it's close to Mel's Drive-In.
Right.
Yeah, and then across is the school.
Okay.
What's really interesting is that the impact of the school is now visible, whereas touring, you know, early COVID, obviously the school wasn't open. Yeah. And people just had to take my word for it.
It's a busy school.
I swear this is a school.
And it's super busy.
Promise me.
It's a busy school too.
No, it really is. It's like almost 1,500 students, not including faculty.
Yeah.
So it's busy.
Yeah.
But the gate directly across from the building is now being utilized now that there's no more, you know, COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
There's bodies, there's cars, there's a crossing guard at times. I'm like,
nice.
Ta-da, you know.
Told you.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's, you know, and the Hollywood Bowl is back, so you see all the people on Highland heading to Hollywood Bowl, and so there's a lot more life and activity. You know, Highland is an interesting street.
Yeah.
Sunset has, you know, Chick-fil-A and the new Hart House, and it's different.
It's different.
But, you know, this is a little bit more of a residential area.
Yeah.
You know, gives a little bit more of a beat to, you know, have people like stay for a minute. But, you know, that project has definitely been, you know, I'm determined to turn it into the vision.
That's your passion project right now?
It is. I mean, I have other projects that I'm very passionate about.
All landlords are equal, though.
All landlords are equal, and all projects. It's like, you know, you can't have a favorite child.
Yes.
You just have a child right now that needs more attention.
Yeah. Because it was an emotional experience.
Exactly.
COVID. I get it.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, great. I mean, ever since we met, we kind of had a good bond. Even though I'm not from New York and you're from LA, technically. We shouldn't say New York anymore. But we always hit it off, so I appreciate you coming in.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
This next segment is where my daughter is going to ask you some questions.
Okay, I'm excited.
Which you may or may not be prepared for. We'll see. All right, let's see what she has to say. This Alessandra wants to know.
What are some of your hobbies?
Oh, I love that question.
It's a good one.
Well, I'd mentioned that I love cooking.
What's your genre?
Okay, doesn't matter what I'm making. There's always some sort of sauce, either reduction or a gravy or that's.
Got it.
So there's no dry
wine
food in my house. Absolutely.
You're all day on that.
Wine, butter, whatever it needs to be. There's going to be some sort of, because I do not like dry.
Yeah.
No dry steak, nothing dry. Although my steak is not soupy, but I will have maybe like a little.
You do that butter thing
with
the steak?
Absolutely. No tarragon. I'm not into that. I just like I'll do shallots and butter. That's nice.
That's nice.
I also have a pretty intense passion for organizing.
Like
just
anything or?
Anything. I'll do a closet. I'll do a cabinet.
Where were you when I moved in? You could have come and helped me organize.
I mean, I really like this blue. It's inspiring.
Nice. There you go.
But your shelves are good. You don't need my input. You don't need my input.
My wife handled all that.
Oh, see.
I didn't do anything.
No, I mean, I'll do a friend's garage. I will.
Wow.
Do someone's closet. I'll help them go through their clothes and reorganize it.
There's that lady. Have you watched that show or whatever her name is?
There's just a few.
There's a few now?
There's a few. I mean, there's Get Organized with the home edit women who are now going to do extreme home makeover.
Do you like love watching those things? Because you're like, man, this is me.
I mean, I'm not as interested in watching them as I used to be because I've been organizing for so long that now it's like, I just want to do it myself.
Yeah. Like, I don't need to watch you. I'm busy organizing.
Yeah, exactly. Like the condo method, my dresser doesn't work for her method.
What's that method?
Well, she folds it and you have to see everything that
Oh, man.
Too much. By the way, my drawers, not always good, but
fine.
My kitchen, pristine.
Like spices, plates.
Oh yeah. And absolutely. And the way I use it, absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah, I love it. So anytime.
I need more of that in my life. I need to be more organized.
But it also is my zen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When I need to really kind of calm down, I'll pick a closet.
So organizing chaos gives you zen, kind of.
Organizing chaos gives me zen because I get rid of the chaos.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it clears the mind.
So that's a hobby of yours.
That's a hobby of mine. I'll do it for friends, for free or paid.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm generous.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So those are the two hobbies: cooking and organizing.
Well, eating.
Yeah.
Got to eat what you cook.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what the next question is.
Do you have a favorite sports team?
You into sports?
Oh, I love sports.
What do you got? You gonna say New York teams or LA teams? What's on the menu?
Oh, I mean, I've been back now 10 years.
So yeah.
And LeBron. I'm a huge basketball fan.
Nice.
Huge.
Okay.
I would say that's my number one. Number two would be baseball.
Okay.
Not so much baseball lately.
Yeah.
But
So
I love LeBron.
So you're a Laker fan?
I am. I'm back to being a Laker fan.
Where were you before that? Wherever LeBron was, or?
Well, yeah, I was having issues with the Lakers when I was living in New York. So
It's good to have you back.
Thank you. They welcome me with open arms.
Yeah, we're diehard Laker fans. We accept all fans.
I love the Rams. I've been to several games.
That's cool.
Really enjoy it.
Nice.
I can't tell you anybody's names anymore. I
don't watch football anyway. We can't have that conversation.
Okay, that was fun. Lakers, go Lakers.
This next question you're going to love.
Okay, I can't wait.
You might have a hard time with it, though.
Uh-oh.
What is your favorite food?
Ooh.
A lot of people have a hard time. Some people are like...
I mean, I love sushi. Love it.
But,
can't give up, steak.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Do you do sushi at home? Have you done that? Or is that something you leave for, I'm going to go to sushi?
It is, because I don't necessarily trust, what is it, a fishmonger? I don't know where to get good fish.
Yeah.
And I can't even tell you if what they gave me is good.
Right.
It's just not my forte, but, when I see, the sushi chef slice it at the bar, I'm like, oh, this is why you come here.
Yeah.
But I will make, I do salmon bowls where it's rare on the inside.
That's cool.
Seared. So seared, but rare. I don't really do raw at home. I like raw food out.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily.
I have a friend who got into doing it at home because he found the fish guy. And I think that's the key, right? You
there.
Find the fish guy, then you're confident enough to do it at home. And he does the slicing and all that good stuff.
Maybe he can give me the
inside scoop. He stopped doing it because it's such a lot of work.
Oh, it is a lot of work.
You gotta do
but the fish itself is a lot of work.
Yeah, and you have to cut it at
and
the
then
right
once
angle.
you're done with the fish, then you got to actually do
Yeah. So sushi is your top.
I would say that's my top, absolutely.
And then you said steak right after, so we're gonna go with steak. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Love a good steak.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay, I can understand that. Let's see the last question for you.
If you can live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Wow. That's a
this is
good
the new question of this.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Today, I would love to be in Mallorca. I was there in 96.
Nice.
Loved it then. And last year, I was there for a few days with one of my best friends for her birthday. And
that's Spain, right?
Mm-hmm, and I loved it again. Santini stole my heart.
Wow.
It was the most fantastic experience. And, it was almost 20 years. It was, 18-year difference?
Right.
And I felt just as content
wow.
as an adult. It was fantastic.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love Spanish-speaking countries.
Yeah.
I feel very comfortable and at home. I'm not fluent.
But you could get by.
But I feel very comfortable. Yeah. And so
good enough.
Mallorca is fantastic. I'm going to have to go check out some areas in southern Mexico soon, and I'll get back to you on the final answer.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, always a pleasure.
Yes, good to see you.
Every time we have conversations, we're either laughing or high-fiving.
Excellent, so. Exactly. Too far to high-five, so.
Yeah, but I appreciate you making the trek over here, and we look forward to having you on soon.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Thanks. Just a reminder, please take the time to subscribe to this podcast and leave us a rating and review. It's greatly appreciated. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Hot Spotting Podcast. If any listeners have any questions or topics they would like to hear on the show, or if you simply want to connect, you can email me at mike@hotspotproperties.net. Once again, thank you for listening. It's been real.